Shining Grove. What's up, my Grand Cross people? Trying something new here, seeing as for the first time since the game's launch, and since I started making videos, Global isn't being gatekept by late updates anymore. So I have some thoughts on this that I'll go into later, but for now let's talk about the latest character to release, Lancelot. The 5.5 year anniversary is here, and although I make it known whenever I'm dissatisfied with the game, I always try to at least admit when there are things that I appreciate. So for these quality of life updates, good job Netmarble. I'm happy and I'm proud of you guys. So with this update, the main event is of course the festival banner and its titular character. So I'm gonna start by breaking down his kit for you. Talk about his ultimate scaling, showing how he works during gameplay, talk a little bit about the artifact sets that I use on him, and I'll go through the team compositions that I tried when I was testing him out, before finally giving my thoughts on the unit. Spoiler alert though, I have very mixed feelings. So stat-wise, our friends over at GameWith.jp place Lancelot as the second highest CC character in the game, behind, of course, our one and only GOAT, Escanor. As for his cards, very simple, there's no surprises here. His skill 1 deals impact damage, meaning triple pierce that ignores the enemy's resistance, and his skill 2 deals penetration damage, meaning he gets 50% attack bonus and even more bonus based on half of his pierce rate. All in all, this is a very pierce-centric character. His ultimate, again, isn't anything too complicated. He boosts his attack-related stats and drops an AoE nuke on the field. The second part of his ultimate though is his scaling passive, and this is where we get into more advanced parts of his kit. So in short, anytime Lancelot uses his second skill, the AoE, he'll have a death damage effect, like millims on whichever character was marked beforehand. And the damage of his AoE is increased based on each piercing arrow he has on himself. Following up from that is his actual passive now. First, he'll apply Insight to himself for 3 turns, and increase his max HP by 8% for each human, fairy, or Knight of the Apocalypse on your team. Then, whenever one of these units use a single target card on the enemy, that enemy is marked also for 3 turns. What this mark does is it decreases their crit defense by 50%, and like I said just now, if Lancelot fires off his skill 2, the AoE card, they take death damage from it. And the last part of his passive applies to his piercing arrow stacks, and it just says that he receives them whenever an ally hits the enemy that's marked. Before rounding this off, Lancelot is a special character. He has a unique mechanic to himself that allows him to view the enemy hand and cleanse debuffs from himself every time he does this. Of all the Bible passive UR characters we've had recently, I really feel like he's one of the most straightforward ones. There's nothing too complicated about this kit, and he's simple to understand. So as with most of the good characters in this game, they usually come with pay-to-win ultimates, and in Lancelot's case, he is no different. At 1/6, he starts with a 500% attack multiplier, no damage reduction, and his death damage is at 60%. The next notable checkpoint is 3/6, so if you want to summon for dupes, you're more or less safe if you stop there. And with this, he has a 600% attack multiplier, and here we do include the damage reduction. He has a 20% damage reduction on the enemy that's marked, and his death damage increases to 80%. And then finally, at max level, he has a 750% attack multiplier, the damage reduction, and 100% on his death damage. Honestly, in terms of will units, I don't think Lancelot's so bad. He does provide extra things based on his scaling, but not to the level of like Escanor, who deals no damage or straight up half of your HP whenever he dies. So personally, I wish the death damage on Lancelot wasn't tied to his ultimate, cause it just makes things unfair, but all in all, he's fine. Now for some more visual clarification, I'll quickly run through all what these means and how they work in a live battle. So, starting off the gameplay, we have a Milim and Sabnak team, and here we just go for the basic combo. Single target, and Lancelot's AoE at the end. Here we got Destiny going off, then Lancelot's single target, and finally we proc his AoE. And boom, she's gone. That was due to his passive. Now it's their turn. Patience right there. Milim goes for a single target. See, now if she had targeted Lancelot, he'd be gone. Just no surviving, but since Escanor has damage cap, he ate that hit. And now, finally, our turn again. Here I'm gonna showcase the special mechanic he has, where you can see the enemy's cards. It didn't show it in this gameplay, but you can also claim the debuffs. So now for our turn, we're just gonna do the same thing again. Single target, AoE, and finish off the match. Boom, single target. Now Milim is marked. AoE, hits everyone, and boom again. Death damage, deals with the rest. And that's pretty much it. The match is finished and we just gotta clean up the rest of the mobs. Moving on from his kit, I see a lot of people asking how to build him. Now, quick disclaimer, I'm not a theory crafting expert who fiddles with pierce rate and resistance and crit damage substats, or I don't do any of that. When a character releases, I always make a base SSR HP def set, because in good PvP, well, in most PvP for that matter, whoever goes first usually is the one who wins. Now, if I'm using that character in PvE and they're focused on dealing damage, then I'll make an attack crit set, but for the most part, the HP def set has worked for me, and that's what I intend to do for Lancelot. This part is important, because I've tried multiple teams and so far I don't feel like he perfectly fits into any of them. His kit feels like he needs someone who can apply a turn 1 taunt, something like Albedo or Sabnak, and dish out a single target move for him to really perform well. But in the interest of showing off what I've tried, I'll just say that I largely stayed away from fairy team comps, because in my opinion they've never been top meta, and I don't think they have enough units that aren't King or Glaxinia to compete, so I just stuck with humans. First, Lancelot, Escanor, Light Percival, and Liz. To me, this is the best comp so far. He has the survivability he needs from Percival's passive to not instantly die in one turn, and him combined with Escanor can just kill anyone they need to in one turn. Lancelot, Escanor, Naofumi, and Green Percival on sub. This one's another good comp. The taunt from Naofumi is pretty much essential to this working, otherwise you get deleted by Milims and Geldas. But your damage does fall off because one card slot sent setting up Naofumi's taunt is a card slot wasted because you're not building Lancelot's passive. Lancelot, Escanor, Arthur, and Green Percival on sub. I don't like this one. Arthur provides the taunt that you need and that is essential to keeping Lancelot safe, but it comes way too late. And by then, you'll most likely already have lost one or even more characters. Lancelot, Escanor, Lilia, and Green Percival on sub. Surprisingly, I've had some success with this one because Lilia tanks a lot and she can provide the sustain that Lancelot needs if he reaches low HP. The problem is, if Lancelot gets hit, he'll most likely die. So, other units I thought of using with Lancelot are Roxy, Transcendent Bond, Yuri, Aaron, and maybe even Levi, but once you start playing with Lancelot, you realize quick that if you go second, you have a 5% chance, maybe even 10, at making it out with a win. Usually, if you go second, you lose. This leads us to my thoughts on the character, and as stated in the beginning, they're mixed. When I pulled him and hopped into PvP yesterday, I was having fun. I was impressed. Like, you can't be serious. This guy can get rid of those glue-eating Geldas turn 1? What more could you ask for? But as I kept playing more and more and even facing real players, and this guy just gets smacked around way too easily. He has zero survivability, and the partners that could provide this for you, they're just suboptimal to use. Because they either don't benefit his passive too much, or, as with literally everything wrong with PvP in this game, if you face a player with degenerate spending habits and don't go first, you lose. I'm just gonna leave it at that, because once I start talking about whales, I get worked up. People who've seen me on Discord, they know this. So all I'm gonna say is, this is a good banner. This is a decent banner at the very least. If you can hit the 900 pity, and you're missing a fair chunk of characters from the pool, or even need dupes for them, then by all means, just go for it. But if we're rating Lancelot as a character on his own, for me, he's a skip. He is definitely not better than Milim. And if you can't go first, your chances of winning are way too low. And personally, all of this is exactly why I found myself getting in arguments with some other content creators about the global sync, because you can't possibly know how good a unit is without trying them out for yourself. In multiple situations. It takes at least a day or two to get a good grasp of them, and by then everyone's already posting their first impressions, which are usually positive and encouraging people to summon. I myself fell in this trap. You can see this from my first video. I was just smoking the enemies left and right, saying how impressed I am with Lancelot, but then I just kept playing with him more off camera and testing, and I would go on losing streaks with this guy. Why? Because the usual, facing big whales, you can't win if you don't go first. And even the Milim teams, you go second, they have Sabnak, you kill her, Milim just goes berserk on your team. It's anyway, my personal issues surrounding this game and some of its community aside, if you've got some thoughts of your own and want to discuss or correct me on anything I might have gotten wrong, just feel free to share in the comments. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I get to do more of these review videos if you guys enjoy them.